right, guys, we have one short presentation coming up now, and then we'll go to lunch. But we can't go to lunch until we've heard from Andrea. Andrea DeLong-Amaya, you may know her. You may know Andrea, as I do, if you live in the Central Texas area and you visited the Wildflower Center over years. She's the constant face of the Wildflower Center. Every time the Austin chapter and the Williamson County chapter and Native American Seed, we join them for their semi-annual sales. Andrea was there, and she's worked for the Wildflower Center since 1998. She's been in horticulture for 30 years. She's the director of horticulture now at the Wildflower Center. She teaches plants in native plant horticulture, but I know her from speaking at our forums and at our symposia. She's a brilliant speaker about native plants. I think she knows them well. She's also written a lot of articles for different publications, which I won't go through because there's a lot of them. And the other thing I want to say is she's appeared on Central Texas Gardener. If you're from the Central Texas area, you'll know this program. It's very popular among the native plant people. We had John Asher speak to us at our fall symposium. He did a wonderful job. So Andrea is going to be on the Central Texas Gardener program on April 5th. And apparently it's online right now, so you can go see her. And also, she is going to be a tour guide leader this afternoon. So at 3:15, if you're going on a tour, look for the people that have the docent green lanyard on. They'll be in the courtyard. I'm raising their hands and showing you their green lanyard. But she's going to take people, along with Lauren Gross, she's taking people through the nursery and the fernery. And finally, I want to say that we're very proud of her because this month she's going to be receiving the prestigious 2025 Scott Garden and Horticulture Award, awarded by the Scott Arboretum of Swarthmore College. So I'm just really pleased to introduce you to her. She's going to be talking about her new book, which she'll be signing. Go through the doors, first door on the left in the classroom. She'll be there at lunchtime with her book. Well, actually, you should have bought a book. Go running over to the gift shop, buy her book, and then come back, and then she'll sign it for you. Okay, without further ado, Andrea.
Like so many of us who were lucky enough to be nannied by the great outdoors, I felt a deep belonging and centeredness in the rural Michigan woods surrounding the trailer park where I spent summers of my early years. Here began my connection with the natural world, observing a walking stick insect while surveying a maple tree, collecting a rainbow of leaves from those same maples come fall, pushing a finger into the earth-scented, spongy, moist moss that our neighbors complained about invading their lawn, and eating huckleberry pie baked by my dad from fruit my friends and I so proudly and competitively foraged. My father introduced me to my first wildflower guide, and I was astonished that there were such things as wild onions and that you could eat them, even though I didn't particularly like the endless aftertaste. So that was from the preface of the Texas Native Plant Primer that I wrote for the Wildflower Center. Let's see. And this is where I started my journey as a naturalist and a plant junkie. Through my career, I found this wonderful place, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, and was very much inspired by the work of Lady Bird Johnson. She and her good friend Helen Hayes founded the Wildflower Center in 1982 on her 70th birthday, which I find exceedingly inspirational. Wherever I go in America, I like it when the land speaks its own language and its own regional accent. So I'd like to entice you with the kind of information that is in the book. All of the photos that are in the slideshow, this brief slideshow, are from the book. And some of the topics that are covered are your basic things like what is a native plant? Why would you want to grow those native plants? You know, wildlife is a really big reason why people are interested in growing natives. In addition to wildlife, obvious things like reducing the need for soil amendments and fertilizers, reducing the amount of water we're using, disease, pest resistance. And if you're using native plants, then you're not going to be using invasive non-native plants in your garden. And one of the most important ones for me is that we're keeping Texas Texan. And all of the other reasons that all of y'all are in this room today, right? We all have our own reasons why we're interested in using native plants. There's a section in the book that talks about how native plants can be used in the garden. And one of the most important foundational concepts is to grasp a little bit of an understanding of garden ecology, including ecoregions and habitat information. And that also includes ecological succession as well as seasonal succession. All of the species in the book are from the state of Texas. And Texas is vast, so we know that conditions in one part of the state are very different from another part of the state. And so I tried to get a good representation throughout the state and plants that are good for shade or sun in different contexts, different kinds of growing requirements. And then the book also covers maintenance, stewardship, which is gardening essentially. And then there's also some discussion about designing with native plants, or specifically in the context of using native plants, because lots of ink has been written about, you know, design, but how does that actually influence the native plant design? And then there's some discussion too about plant combinations, things that grow well together, that look good together, that have similar growing requirements. So back to the table of contents, you'll see there are 7 different categories of plants that are addressed in the book. Most of these plants are available commercially. Some of them really are just deserve more attention. So please, you know, promote those and ask your local growers to grow them. But they're ones that I have really found to be very useful in the landscape, in a cultivated landscape. And then each entry has basic information like the botanical and common names, the size, flower period, bloom color, if there are fruit that are particularly interesting, basic growing requirements. There's also information about the ecology, including the ecoregion that they occur in, as well as the habitat. There are maintenance tips and information about how those plants attract wildlife. So each entry gets that. You'll also see that there are little icons at the top of each entry that is kind of a quick reference to help you identify some of those plants that would attract particular animals in your garden. And then there's a section for just general notes, including if a plant is edible or not, and other noteworthy tidbits. So one of the categories is the grass and grass-like plants. This plant here is Sacahuista, also called basket grass or bear grass. Stout flower clusters cloister in the foliage, barely emerging above the fluid, arching wave of leaves. Pour them over boulders or a wall. In grand swaths, it's graceful, firm, and confident. A pair in pots make a veritable welcoming committee, flanking a lightly shaded front door. Strong, ropey leaves are well suited for basketry, hence the common name basket grass. Though resembling a grass, Sacahuista is actually a woody lily botanically belonging to the lily family, the Liliaceae. In the cacti and succulent section, we have claret cup cactus. Maintenance tips here. Plants appreciate periodic blown kisses. Just don't pucker up too closely. As do other cacti on the small side, claret cup happily inhabits pots. In the ground, more stems occur in shallow, dry, rocky conditions, while deeper soils produce fewer but larger stems. Rare among cacti, plants are dioecious, meaning female and male flowers occur on different plants, with only the female plants bearing the fruit. Also unusual are blossoms that remain open overnight, blooming for 2 to 4 days. Individuals may vary in appearance, and they easily hybridize with other members of the genus. Note that there are a number of species that also go by the same common name, claret cup. In the shrub section, we have the lovely flame acanthus. This is excellent for attracting hummingbirds. One of the other common names is hummingbird bush. They also attract large butterflies and serve as the larval host plant for the Janaeus and Texan crescent butterflies. The deer palatability is moderate to high. Aflame with flowers, aflame with flowers through the punishing months of summer when little else is willing. Flamacanthus flushes lushly after rains, while feisty, territorial hummingbirds orbit plants for hours. Though hailing from South Texas, plants grow easily under cultivation throughout the state. Love that plant. In the large tree and shade-producing tree section, we have the southern magnolia, and it doesn't get more southern than magnolia. A heady fragrance exudes from the salad plate-sized blossoms, sliding a sprightly spring into the languid days of summer. Cream-colored flowers appear to hover against the dark green, glistening leaves. Glimpsing the undersides of the leaves, you'll find a rich russet wool. Dense shade, surface roots, and leather leaf litter that smothers underplantings lead many gardeners to give up and simply lay mulch. The conical-shaped trees grow quickly. The last section is on vines, and the Mustang grape doesn't get a whole lot of love, but there's some really cool things about the Mustang grape. One thing is that if it's left unchecked, it will devour shrubs and trees. So you might want to tie and train stems into preferred directions on a constant basis. You can rake the fallen leaves if desired, the fallen grapes as desired. This vigorous tendrilled vine lends dense shade quickly. Falling grapes may create a nuisance, but only female plants produce fruit. Unripe fruits make a mouth-watering green grape pie, while mature grapes cook down to a flavorful, inky purple syrup, suitable for a slew of recipes. Try it over vanilla ice cream. It's as dazzling and as tasty. The grape skins contain irritating oxalic acid, so wear gloves when you're handling them. And to avoid mouth burn, you might want to process them before consuming. Or if you're in the field, if you're looking for a little treat, you can just squeeze the pulp into your mouth and discard the skins. The felt-like undersurface of the leaves discerns this species from others. Leaves range from deeply divided to unlobed, often on the same plant. Tricky. So you can see in this picture where on the same plant you'll have very different shaped leaves. So I am thrilled to have this book as a platform to highlight standard reliable garden workhorses, and with some luck, to also pique some excitement for the lesser knowns of the bunch. Some of these currently elude the trade, as I mentioned earlier, and I invite you to share your interests and requests with your local growers and nursery people. They'll listen and respond if we shout loud enough. In the meantime, you can collect seeds, ethically, of course, swap plants and experience with your garden buddies, members of the native plant societies, and garden clubs. I hope that you can visit our native plant database at wildflower.org and come to the Wildflower Center plant sales. Use the pages of this book to knock out some of the guesswork out of the experiment that we call Gardening in Texas. The plant profiles will guide you to the best plants for your site and provide tips for an informed gardening practice. And it is a practice. After all, dead plants teach us lessons, and I've killed gardens full, right? So I hope you'll come and see us in the book signing at lunch, and thank you very much.